Hi there, my name is Frank Brill. I'm the editor of EnviroPolitics, and I'm happy to have with me today for this broadcast Senator Bob Smith, who is the chairman of the Environment Committee in the New Jersey State Senate. Senator Smith, welcome. Thank you for participating.
Absolutely. Thank you, Frank, as well. And by the way, for your many listeners, they should know how hard you worked to try and set up the technical aspect of this interview.
Yes, this Zoom, which is so easy to do, that doesn't apply to all users.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right, let's go back to the questions that I'd almost forgotten now because it's been so long in setting up this Zoom. But first of all, let me just ask you, how are you and your family doing during this? Oh, that's
Everybody's
great.
healthy, and I hope you and your family are as well.
We are too. We're staying pinned down at home and we're doing our best to stay that way. What do you hear from your constituents? Anything?
Well, people are getting absolutely crazy with the stay-at-home fever. You know,
right.
Our lives have been so disrupted for the past 2 months. They really want to go back to work and get socially active, but everybody's afraid.
Yeah.
The death rates, the number of fatalities is enormous. New Jersey is the second hottest spot in the United States, and I think the governor has tried very hard to use social distancing as a tool for control. I think we're starting to see the benefit of it, but the pain goes on. You know, high school seniors are not going to have a quote, a normal graduation. There's no proms. People are getting absolutely crazy with the whole masks and social distancing, and going to the supermarket and finding supplies very short in many categories. So there's a lot of pain out there, and then a lot of people have not had a paycheck, and unfortunately our food banks are going at full steam ahead. So if anybody out there can be helpful to their local food bank, it'd be a big help.
I believe that. Let me switch to the legislature right now.
Yes.
Up until the COVID hit, of course, things were different, and now they're totally changed. In fact, since this crisis hit, you folks in the legislature have virtually done nothing other than COVID-19 related legislation, and you've done a great job passing a lot of things and getting them through quickly. But that has removed all other normal activity in terms of types of like environmental legislation, for example, in your case. And so I'm wondering, you've had we've had a voting session too, which I found to be, I listened to a little bit of it and it was sort of a semi-disaster, it sounded like to me, because it actually was at the assembly because no one's shown on screen, and they have to get a vote from each person and then go to the next person, and there's 80 members of the group, and some people are hiding or they're not responding to their prompt. When do you see anything changing there, or when are we going to get back to normal in terms of the legislature, or is that just undetermined at this point?
Well, I think we're going to have a transition period, and the transition, for example, we're going to have another remote session of the Senate this coming Thursday, I think the 14th, and there's about 20 more COVID bills on there.
Right.
And the Senate president has announced a schedule of meetings at the call of the president. And the meetings are, at this point, remote meetings. There's a limitation on the number of meetings because the Office of Legislative Services can handle about one a day. So there'll be fewer meetings, and I see COVID legislation being the top of topics at the moment. But I will tell you that I've asked the Senate president for 2 meetings in June, and he is amenable to that. One meeting will be to finish up the agenda of the last meeting that was canceled because of the shutdown.
Okay.
So that will be in early June, and then around the middle of June, middle to the end of June, we're going to have a second meeting that's going to be a public hearing, and it will have a topic that's near and dear to you and your listeners, which is legislation which we will have filed sometime in May, mandating recycled content for plastics, paper, and glass. We have a number of states that are way ahead of us in this. And as you know, Frank, and the Association of New Jersey Recyclers, our recycling effort here is in chaos and becoming very expensive as a line item in municipal budgets because we don't have markets and we lost China.
Right.
China decided they're not taking our trash anymore. So we're going to try and create our own markets by having recycling content mandates. And I'm sure it'll be very controversial, but plan on that in the latter half of June. And for any of your listeners who are interested in that topic, keep your eyes and ears on the legislative announcements. And that will be for discussion only.
And that will be, of course, a virtual meeting, right? Where it'll be,
right now it's a virtual meeting. Yes.
Okay. Very good. The other thing that's really been disrupted by this is the budget process. Normally by now you would have had all kinds of meetings. The budget committee would have. What's going to happen there? How are they going to come up with a budget?
I think in a very difficult manner. You know that the budget year has been changed, where we don't have to have a budget by June 30.
Okay, I wasn't aware of that. Oh, okay,
that will help. We've done legislation to now make it a September 30th fiscal year for this fiscal year.
Mm-hmm.
And by then we're going to know just how badly we're sinking into the quicksand. My guess is it's going to be huge. And I know that there is a behind the scenes discussion of two things. Number one, how big is the gap? How are we going to fill the gap? Is there going to be additional borrowing? Is there going to be additional taxation? I mean, all of which are really ugly topics. But, part of this is some of the unknowns related to the federal effort to provide some relief. One of the big discussion items right now is furloughing a portion of the state workers.
Right.
And utilizing the CARES legislation to fund a portion of what would be their paychecks, but at the same time saving $500 million to $750 million. Wow. Big discussion. But that being said, there's still going to be huge problems, and at the local level, they're going to even be bigger than that. The date by which you pay your tax has been extended. If you don't have a paycheck, you're going to have a hard time paying your taxes or your rent or paying for food. So we're in a crisis and a big mess. And I know every legislator, both parties, are working hard to try and find solutions.
It is a real tough situation you're in. There's no doubt about it. And normally the legislature would wrap up the budget by July 4, and then you would all go on summer break. What do you see happening?
June 30.
I'm sorry. That's right. June 30. Right. I always think to the holiday, but you're right. What happens this year? I mean,
because we have the extension of September.
You have the
30th.
extension. Yeah. Okay.
So my guess is that there will be a lot of summer meetings.
Okay. Yeah.
Both of the legislature and of the appropriations committee in both houses.
Yeah, that's where I was getting to, because you're going to have a big backlog too with all the other normal legislation that has nothing to do with COVID. So I guess you can, people better be careful about their vacation plans. I mean, I'm sure no one's making them now anyway, because we don't know what's going to happen this summer.
Yeah, really. Where are you going on vacation?
All right. Well, listen, I've taken enough of your time. I want to thank you because you broke some news here today, telling our audience that you likely, hopefully, if the Senate President agrees, we'll be having 2 virtual meetings of your committee in June, and that recycled content bill, which we haven't seen yet because it hasn't been put in yet, will be a part of the agenda for that meeting.
For the second meeting.
For the second meeting, that's right. That will be a public hearing only on that bill, right?
Right.
Okay. Very good. Senator Smith, stay well. And thanks again. And thanks for bearing with me to this Zoom problem that we have. It's almost as big as the budget problem.
Not a problem. And thank you for your tenacity.
All right. Take care. We'll see you now.
Be well.
Bye. Bye.